Hello everyone, today we're going to be visiting Eternia as we take a look at Archon Studio's Masters of the Universe Battleground 2-player starter set. Okay, so Archon Studio's Masters of the Universe Battleground starter set for 2 players. It's a behemoth of a box. Ugh. Fighting for dominance in Eternia. So, the game contains everything you need to play. You've got 5 heroes, 5 villains, the game board, all the rules and accessories you need, plus the big mat and terrain. Let's have a look at what's inside here then. Okay, so we have some card components, including our game board, which is hex-based. And it is a multi-section board. I'll have a look at those in a minute. Looks like 4. We also get 2 sheets of tokens, including some measuring sticks. One 12 long, another going up to 16. Get a bag of D6 and a host of decks of cards. So items, weapons, more weapons, our heroes and our villains. I'll let you decide who is who. Fate decks. And some books. So, miniature assembly manual. Step-by-step guide based on the renders, showing you how to assemble the plastics. And then at the back, a bit on the terrain. Very briefly, there's only a couple of pieces that actually need to be assembled. The rest are one piece out of the box. So that's quite nice. Then we have our Battleground book, including the costs for list building of weapons and characters. So here you can see the board itself is a 30 hex length by 25? Yeah, 25 long. So shows you where to deploy the various pieces, what those pieces are as far as coding goes. We have our rulebook, which is 32 pages long. Back cover is a quick reference and index. And then the rest gives you the overview of how to play, what we're going to get, and how we're going to do it. I'll look at that in a bit more detail in a moment. We also have plastics in the box though. Alright, there are 6 terrain sprues. 3 different types, and you get 2 of each of those types. So here you see the first, all mounted on hexes, as you would expect. Thick pieces as well. That must be a good 5mm thickness. And this is probably one of the lighter pieces. I love that blend of tech with sort of old medieval stone walls. Very evocative of Heman. We also have this. This is our sort of fighting platform that sits on top of one of them. A ladder to get up there, again on a hex. And then some dungeon-like pieces. Good chunky detail as well, so it will paint up very easily. Our last one, and it weighs a ton. It's a really chunky boy. big chunky walls. There's some grooving in here as well. That allows you to sort of nest or butt the pieces up against each other quite nicely, I would imagine. So yeah, good selection of terrain, a large amount of it as well to really fill that board. Then we have our hero and villains. So here we can see the Masters of the Universe. Orko very noticeable. All with textured bases, which I first seen when they did Wolfenstein, which was really nice. Every piece is numbered and lettered. So, for example, I can see Ram Man, E4, E5, E8. I'm guessing, yeah, his arm is over here with E3. So not all of the pieces are going to be within the area. You may have to look around a bit. But I suggest just build one model at a time, clip off all the relevant pieces, and then it should get easier towards the end. But they do look like there's a nice level of detail on them. And the evil warriors, as they're called, in this delightful Skeletor purple plastic. Again, everybody correctly numbered. Good looking set of models. Let's see how they look built up. Okay, so we're going to start with the terrain. There is an absolute ton of it in this box, from the very, very small to the very, very big. Now, these are ridiculously chunky, very well detailed, as you can see. But because they are so big on the sprue and they didn't want any warp on them, they really pumped the plastic in, and there's very little room for wiggle on the sprue gates. So getting into these big thick sprues I found problematic, especially noticeable on the base, which also there's some sinkholing there to make sure that they got everything in. But these, there was barely any clearance for a standard pair of clippers in there at all. I really had to hack away at them. It's a minor issue. Like I say, you're not going to notice it on the base anyway. The big pieces on the sides and tops may require a bit of cleanup work, but overall, really nice bit of kit. There are these two platforms which interlock into these sections here. So it goes in, and then to secure it, you have a ladder that clips and just stands there. So it's nicely engineered, very sturdy. Wouldn't be putting a cup of tea on it, but there you go. I won't go through all of the terrain because there's just too much of it, but there's a couple of these thinner wall sections, sort of abandoned ruins, that also have the technological pieces attached to the medieval stonework. So I like that. Very, very Heman-esque. And like I say, there was quite a few of these little blocking terrain pieces in a variety of shapes as well. So they're all very cute. Now, our heroes. So we'll start with Skeletor. The figures themselves are around 35mm to eye level. Obviously varies because some are leaping, some are jumping. But the builds themselves are absolutely gorgeous. I didn't bother using the build guide in the books. I just cut out all the pieces for a specific model and then just worked it out myself. What I will say is the keying on some of the models is there, so there'll be like a mortar and tenon joint or a peg to attach, and in some cases it's attached by rotation into a specific area. So I think the best example of that is probably Trapjaw. I bring him in. So the sort of the details of the fur loincloth help locate where the leg goes. There's no sort of big peg or pin or anything. Unlike in the arm, which is sort of keyed, so it only goes on one way anyway. So you'll find with some of them, with the occasional arm or leg, you're going to want to dry fit it first to make sure you've got the correct orientation before you glue. Because, you know, you don't want to make a mess of it, especially if you're applying plastic glue. You'll end up putting a fingerprint onto something or wearing some detail off. But all of them went together without any issue at all. And they're a beautiful looking set of figures. Even Triclops. Weird cult leader that he is. And then on the other side, there's the prince. Wants to keep all the power to himself. Again, great model, screaming, "I have the power." Man at Arms. Another one where the legs were located based on the furry bottoms of their barbarian loincloth. Everybody's least favourite toy, Ram Man. A solid chunk of plastic that you couldn't play with as a kid. All he did was bounce on a spring. Like some sort of hard-headed Zebedee. But here he looks like an absolute brute. We have Stratos. I will say, if you're doing this, pack on, head on, before you put the arms on. Because trying to locate that with poly glue on there, I dropped it a couple of times. Because I didn't want to knock the arms that were gluing as well. So, you know, one of those things. And lastly, the only good guy on Prince Adam's side, Orko. He comes on little flight stand, which means you can pluck this out whenever you spray it and paint it up so that you keep that clear flight below it. But overall, a beautiful set of figures and constantly expanding as well. So there we go. Well, there we have it, folks. Big, beautiful, chunky starter set. Interesting game mechanics, which we'll be hopefully showing in a Let's Play very shortly. I like the card-driven mechanics, the aspect of the initiative built in like that. The components are really, really gorgeous. Especially those figures. Archon have been absolutely knocking it out of the park with their plastics, and those Heman figures are no exception. The engineering that's gone into hide join lines is insane. And then from that two-player starter set, they're going through multiple waves with new releases, new characters as they go through the whole sort of Heman and the Masters of the Universe storyline and pluck out the relevant bits and pieces, some of which will be familiar to people, some not so much, but it's worth having a look to see what they've done if you're a fan of the 80s and I suppose the 2020s as well, because it came back. Let me know what you think of the Battleground game, and we'll be back again very soon. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now, and while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.